Hello and welcome back to AWS Pi Day. I'm Jasmine Kiles, Manager of Product Management here at AWS, and I'm joined here with my co-host and very good friend, Adrian.
Hello, Jasmine. Thank you for that lovely send-off. And surely you're embellishing. I'm not exactly lovely, nor am I particularly good at a lot of things.
Okay, we'll see. You're good at a lot of things, Adrian. Don't ever underestimate yourself. But you know what? I have a fun fact.
Okay.
Did you know that in addition to buckets, someone else had a birthday on March 14th?
I was not aware. Who is that somebody?
Einstein.
Wow. When you think about it, it really is all relative. But again, my name is Adrian San Miguel. I'm a principal partner enterprise architect here at AWS and a pun extraordinaire. But we're not here to talk about puns, even though we're going to slip them in anyway. Today, we're actually here to talk about S3 tables with a good friend of the program, Aditya. Please say hi, Aditya, and let us know what your favorite type of pie is.
Hey, everyone. My favorite type of pie is a key lime pie.
A key lime pie. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
You know why?
I don't. Is this a pun?
Maybe.
We'll save it.
Okay, gotcha.
So tell us what it is that you've been doing and building for customers.
So at reInvent last year, we launched S3 Tables, and S3 Tables is something that we're really excited about at S3. It's one of the capabilities that we've had a lot of warm reception from our customers, and it's our way for customers to be able to store tabular data in S3. So, yeah.
Awesome. So I imagine the decision to go down this path and store data in a tabular manner was something customers were asking about a ton. What specifically were you hearing that led you down this path to build in this way?
So over the past couple of years, and even before that, S3 has been used for storing tabular data, and we saw that Parquet was one of the most popular formats. And so what we were seeing was customers were basically trying to apply some of the storage management capabilities that S3 provided and trying to make that work with the tabular data sets. And we were also seeing a rise in open table formats like Apache Iceberg picking up steam among our customers. And so what we wanted to do with S3 Tables was basically build some of that abstraction into S3 so that it makes it easier for customers to be able to use all of that data. And so now it's a lot easier for you to basically bring your tabular data and store them in S3 tables and within table buckets without a whole lot of hassle.
Yeah. In terms of some of like the real world industry applications, where are you seeing types of customers use this and what are they using it for?
So we see tabular data being used across a wide variety of industries. Almost every industry stores data, whether it's streaming information from websites or being able to store telemetry data from cars. And so it's almost a horizontal across all industries where basically they want to store tabular data. And this has been a trend that we've seen since S3 was launched and basically has continued to accelerate over the past couple of years. And so we think that S3 Tables becomes a general foundation for customers to be able to store tabular data in S3.
You know, we're talking about Iceberg and by all means support for it, and what customers are doing is certainly titanic. But what we are also interested in hearing, we've got a poll for you folks. How many objects do you think are stored on Amazon S3 today? And while this bakes, Aditya, curious, I know we launched a lot of really good things at reInvent, but what have you and your team been up to since then?
So we've been really busy, and one of the main sort of themes that we've tried to work on since reInvent is basically just making S3 Tables more accessible to our customers. Okay. And so since we launched, we've basically been constantly working to expand the number of regions where S3 Tables is available. We've actually expanded the number of tables that you can store within a table bucket. And there's now an easy way for you to be able to migrate your data into S3 Tables. And there's a bunch of things that we just launched yesterday that also makes it a lot easier for query engines to basically onboard and have customers be able to start using S3 Tables. So we're super excited about all of this, and you'll see a lot more of this coming.
Yeah. Speaking of your most recent launch, yesterday I heard that there was something going on with SageMaker Lakehouse.
That's right. So SageMaker Lakehouse is now generally available, and so and specifically it's the S3 Tables integration with SageMaker Lakehouse that we made generally available. So that is going to make it a lot easier for customers to be able to create and query tables within S3 Tables, and so that's something we're super excited about. And this is along the same lines of making S3 Tables much more accessible to our customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I would love to see this in practice in a demo if we can jump to that here in a sec. But you did also make mention about querying. Is it specific to AWS native stuff, or are there any integrations that we're wanting to talk about?
So we've basically had a whole host of partners that basically have onboarded to supporting S3 Tables.
Okay.
And to mention a few, it's Starburst and open source Trino. We have support for reads from DuckDB. Snowflake now supports S3 Tables through the SageMaker Lakehouse Iceberg REST Catalog endpoint, and a whole lot more. And we're going to continue to have more of these partners be enabled to use S3 Tables. And a big part of that was one of the capabilities that we launched yesterday, which provides a lot easier way for partners to onboard onto S3 Tables without having to do a whole bunch of work on their side. This is the Iceberg REST Catalog endpoint that is now supported on S3 Tables, in addition to the Iceberg REST endpoint that is available for customers on the SageMaker Lakehouse endpoint. So,
yeah, I was really excited to see those partner integrations and going through the list. I saw, like you said, Snowflake, Starburst, Dremio, DuckDB,
That's right.
Daft. Like, it just keeps going, right? HiByte, PuppyGraph, Stream Native, and then DuckDB.
That's right, and many more. And we'll see DuckDB in action today as well.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
yeah.
You said action. I would love to see this action put into practice if we could.
All right. Cool. So right now what I have is basically the S3 Tables UI, where you have the table buckets page. And one of the things that we've done is actually updated some of the work that we're doing behind the scenes to integrate S3 Tables with the AWS Analytics services as part of the SageMaker Lakehouse GA. And so in this case, what we're doing is we've made some improvements to the performance of the integration, as well as we make it a lot easier for customers to basically have permissions be automatically set up when you're doing the integration. So we encourage customers who've turned this on during the preview to basically just redo the integration so that they can get those benefits, right? And so in here, you can see there's a table bucket that I've pre-created, and let's click in here. So this is now the list of tables. You can see there's already a table that I've populated, which we'll go through. And then there's a namespace that you can also create as part of the console.
Okay.
And so I'm just going to basically show you how it is easy for you to basically create a new table. So in here, you can select a new namespace or create a new namespace or select an existing one. I'm just going to choose the PyDay demo one. This is going to pop you over into Athena, and here you go.
So one click in the console to enable, and you're whisked away quickly to Athena.
That's right. And so you'll see here that this is the catalog that's been populated with the table bucket, and then there's a namespace, which is the database represented here, and you can see the table that we saw earlier as well, right? So now, if I were to just basically highlight this and run this query, praying to the demo gods.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't do the dance.
Oh,
The dance could take any shape or form. It's open to interpretation.
that's right. As long as the gods are pleased.
Yes.
All right. So you see the daily sales table that we just created in the PyDay demo database, and then you have the schema as well. Now, the pre-canned queries within Athena allow you to also populate a bunch of data in here with a sample query. So you can just basically select that and run that as well.
You know, something that I made mention in our previous session, and I have a feeling I'm going to be talking about this a lot today, is the simple idea of being able to maintain context as you go is so important to save time, frustration, and to make sure that you're not having to effectively create a giant buffer of clipboard content to be able to carry forward. And just for the regular admin or dev in their day-to-day, this is huge.
Totally. This is a huge simplification for customers to just get started and try out S3 tables, and that was our goal here. So I'm just going to pop back over to the table buckets list page, and you see that's the new table that's arrived here that we just created. All right, and now you can actually also go and click on that and query this table here. So you see there's just a select query out here populated, and if we want to run it, it should show you a sample of.
And while this cooks, chat, let us know what you want us to look for. Or if there's a specific product category you think that you personally would either go out and purchase and go out and start acquiring more. Me personally, I'm a bit of a monitor snob. I love my 4K high refresh rate resolution. But then again, I also pretty bad gamer. So I like to see myself fail utterly and miserably in 4K.
All right.
So what have we got here now?
Cool. So this is basically what you can do within AWS. I'm going to also show you how easy it is for you to basically use DuckDB as a way for you to query all of this data, right? Mm-hmm. So DuckDB actually just introduced a brand new UI, which makes it a lot easier for you to basically have a notebook interface to do all of these queries against the tables that you've created. And they also support now the Iceberg REST catalog for you to be able to read the data both through S3 tables and through the SageMaker Lakehouse endpoint, right?
Yeah.
So this is their brand new UI, and so all I'm doing here is basically just using my credential chain, which is a set of credentials that I've set up to basically get DuckDB set up, and then after that over here, you'll basically see the demo table bucket that we had. I'm just going to attach that to DuckDB.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Wow. Was there a ton of setup that you had to get going to really get to this point, or was it pretty intuitive?
Not a whole lot. I just basically on command line, which is not seen here, it was just DuckDB minus UI, and you just get it done. And as long as you have your AWS credentials set up, you should be good to go.
Awesome.
And then I'll just hit run on show all the tables.
Okay.
All right. There's some of the DuckDB tables that get created as part of the notebook, and then you see there's the daily sales table that we just created.
Okay.
And then there's also the other table that we had with the trip data that I had pre-populated before. So now it's going to be easy for you to just basically run a query to look at the trip data table. That table basically has 3 million rows, so I've just limited it to 1,000 so that it doesn't take forever.
But even that just took fractions of a second anyway.
That's right. And you can see a bunch of neat visualizations for you to look at based on some of the schema that we had already set up in this table.
Okay.
This is really cool. You can actually visualize all of this. There's passenger counts.
So maintaining the context and running the queries directly from the notebook, and then being able to additionally contextualize, visualize, and then really understand and munch on the data that you're being provided. It's like the equivalent of waking up after a nap on Thanksgiving and just going to the table and serving yourself everything you want. You have everything nice and laid out, spread for you. And for whatever reason, you just bypass all the food and go straight to the desserts. Because at the end of the day, this is what your average dev or DBA is going to be looking for as they manipulate and try to get to the hyper-specificity of whatever their query is going to be.
Absolutely. And all of this is running on my laptop. And so there's not a whole lot of like spinning up a cluster to actually do any of these querying operations against the table. So that makes it a lot easier for you to be able to interact with the data. We expect developers to be, some of the folks who use this a lot, just to be able to experiment with the data that they have and be able to like see what is there before they actually like take all of this and take it to production. So it makes it a lot easier for you to on-ramp onto tables and to Iceberg, and then after that, you're good to go. You basically just get this into production and start using tables.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned table and iceberg like that. Then finding a way to collide your data into it. We have a call out for the chat from Squared 512. It's cool that everything's laid out like that so easily. I don't come from a DBA background. I come from a storage deep background and ops background, but being able to leverage something like this, getting those helper queries to go along and start working with stuff, you're making it very approachable and less scary and daunting for the average individual to go and interact. And this is pretty fantastic. Kudos.
Absolutely. And in addition to this, it's all the partners that we talked about earlier as well, where now basically we're expecting a lot of these query engines to, we've made it a lot easier for them to basically use S3 tables. And so whether it's Trino, PyIceberg, we already had support for Spark and Flink. We expect it to become a lot easier for you to use and bring your existing pipelines over and start using S3 tables and take advantage of the automated maintenance that we do in the background, the better performance from the higher TPS that we have for table buckets, all of that. Right?
Yeah. So I want to go to this, but I want to remind everybody we are live. So if you have questions for Aditya along the way, we're happy to get those answered for you. We're monitoring the chat the entire time. But Aditya, you mentioned working with these partners and these building these integrations together, right, to serve our AWS customers' needs. But what's it like working with AWS partners?
It's a joy. And I think one of the things that we've done consciously is basically right after we launched S3 tables, we've been keeping our head to the ground, listening to them and trying to figure out what is the best way for us to make S3 tables accessible. And so we heard that feedback loud and clear. And so that's why we basically added a bunch of capabilities. Some of the things that we talked about in terms of the additional support for the number of tables that you can create, more regions, all of that is just basically coming from partners and essentially end customers that are also talking to our partners, right? So how can I use my existing data sets or query engines against the data that will sit in S3 tables, and just having those options be available is basically, it's been a joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Awesome.
Oh, what's this?
Looks like I have got a pie hat just thrown to me. It doesn't exactly fit, but we'll make it work. And ironically, this is probably like a 2X, but I have a giant lollipop head. But also, speaking of large unwieldy things, we have a question for the chat regarding what is the advantage, in your opinion, Aditya, of using DuckDB versus Athena for querying the S3 tables in this manner? It's a little unorthodox, but I do appreciate the question.
Yeah, no. DuckDB, like I said, just makes it easy for you to get started. And, you basically don't have, you have everything locally within your client, within your laptop for you to just basically experiment with that data. Athena is basically a full-featured query engine that allows you to be able to do that in the AWS environment, right? So, and specifically with Athena and the integration that we've built, it is using SageMaker Lakehouse as sort of the unification where it has a view of all of the data that's in your S3 data lakes as well as your Redshift data warehouses. And so from that standpoint, it basically makes it a lot easier for you to interact with the data regardless of whether it's in a single bucket. So with DuckDB, as I showed you, the idea is it's an easy way for you to like connect to a bucket and start interacting with that. Athena basically sort of expands that out further and makes it a lot easier for you to like look at the entire data estate that you have.
I love that. That's a very detailed explanation, and it helps like bring further along the journey. What we also just did was drop the user guide into the chat there. And if you don't know, all of our documentation across AWS and user guides just got a major upgrade. So the navigation is a little bit easier. We've done that based on customer feedback. So it's, I would say it's a much better journey to go through that. And Adrian, you are not going to be the only person with a pie hat.
I see that. And if we were taking free throw shots, I'd say buckets for you. But I digress, folks. Earlier, we had a poll question. Would love to pull that up and see where we're at. How many objects are stored on Amazon S3 today? Jasmine and I kind of know this answer, but yeah, you nailed it. More than 400 trillion at this point, counting. And I wonder how many of them are my own memes and pics of my dogs being silly, as they are wont to do. Aditya, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Is there anything else you'd like to drop as a parting bit of wisdom for chat and for anybody else watching?
So stay tuned. There's a whole bunch of content out here with the SageMaker Unified Studio, which sort of builds on top of what we've built, uses the SageMaker Lakehouse capability, and you can now use SageMaker Unified Studio as sort of a very powerful way for you to look at all of your data as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Aditya. We saw another question in there about the partner integrations. We'll see if our product teams can get some information to drop here in the chat for our Twitch followers about that. But stay tuned. We'll be back. Watch these customer stories, and we have more content coming to you live.